Yeah, I miss the old creepypasta stories, man. Unless you're like 9 years old or something, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but just in case, creepypasta stories were basically these short horror stories that were copied and pasted around the internet, and most of the times they'd have a creepy image attached to them just to add to the validity of the story, because, since the internet was relatively new at the time, it was a lot easier to spread misinformation. Like nowadays you have fucking community notes and fact checkers up your ass 24/7. But even if you've never read these stories, I'm willing to bet that you guys have at least seen one of these creepy images floating around the internet. Like even Mudahar has made a couple videos trying to decipher the original unedited pictures. I remember being like 10 years old and I was so obsessed to the point where I made a whole presentation on these creepypasta stories. My classmates were looking at me in awe like I was some sort of philosopher spewing some groundbreaking information, while my teachers looked at me like I was some fucking idiot. But dude, as a kid, I ate this shit up, man. Like I almost shit my pants reading the Jeff the Killer story for the first time. Sometimes I'd be left home alone because my parents would work and stuff, and any little noise I heard would scare the living shit out of me. Just seeing that fucking pale face made me uneasy as a kid. And this wasn't the only story to do this. There was a lot of stories that I believed and I would share with my friends during lunchtime, and they'd share their own stories and stuff. And honestly, I miss that feeling. It's such a nostalgic feeling. Because compared to now, the creepypasta community is practically non-existent. Like whenever there is a new creepypasta, it's either very bland and boring, like, I don't know, the clapping man. Like, come on, bro.
How good is that dude? Oh!
Or it's a meme like Goku Mexicano. I remember watching Mr. Creepypasta and MC Creepypasta. Like, dude, those two were like the creepypasta plugs back in the day. I used to love listening to the new creepypasta stories and all that. Obviously, the internet has evolved. So obviously horror doesn't really feel the same anymore. Like, yeah, we had some analog horror, which was kind of interesting, but then it became just a copy and paste of one another, and it just didn't have the same feeling, Old creepypastas, albeit some of them were not the best written, I will admit that, they all had at least some sort of charm and character to them. They were distinguishable from one another. And for some of you who want to get into this stuff, let me recommend you some of my favorite creepypastas. My top two would definitely be the Russian sleep experiment, just because of how realistic and how plausible it actually is. It's basically about, Russian soldiers conducting experiments on these prisoners, and they basically try to see the effects of having no sleep, and the subjects become so crazy to the point where they eat each other. It's a really cool and scary story that I think a lot of you guys would enjoy. Now, the next story I'd recommend is the Godzilla NES creepypasta. This one's a little biased because at the time I started watching Godzilla DVDs and all that stuff. Basically, the story revolves around this guy who gets the new copy of the NES Godzilla game, and in the beginning it starts off pretty normal, aside from a few weird glitches and encounters he has in the game, but nothing crazy, right? Until he encounters this weird entity called Red, which basically is like the embodiment of his regret and sorrow. It's really interesting, but I don't want to spoil anything. Those are my top two stories I would recommend if you guys really want to listen to some cool creepypasta stories. Now, these are pretty scary and all, but there's honestly nothing scarier than fucking furry fanfic, I'll tell you that. Avoid Tumblr at all costs, please.
I don't love you anymore, though I wish I could restore her.